Dr. Freddy Ginwala is a shy and socially awkward dentist in Mumbai. He's a lonely soul, desperately looking for a girlfriend, and he's also a slave to dating apps. And of course, nothing good comes from all the dating apps that he's used, and Freddy has spent about 5 years looking for a soulmate. Our movie begins as he goes on a date with some girl, and he acts so weird and awkward, and the girl gets creeped out and she soon leaves. And Freddy returns home with a broken heart and spends the night painting planes with his pet tortoise and his best friend Hardy. The following day, after Freddy finishes work and goes home, he gets a call from a girl who found him on a dating app, and she reveals to Teddy that they're a perfect match for each other and they agree to meet. But when Freddy goes to the same cafe where he meets all of his dates, apparently the girl stands him up. And as Freddy figures out that the girl won't show up, he heads out and passes by a random group of friends who start mocking him. And one day, Freddy goes to a relative's wedding with his aunt, and she was an absolute monster because she just kept roasting him because he was single. And after she finished her merciless comments, some random woman shows up and his aunt encourages Freddy to talk to her. And after doing that, somehow, he proceeds to be even more awkward than ever, and then things go from bad to worse as her husband shows up and he was pretty drunk and he attacks Freddy and threatens to kill him if he ever approaches his wife again. And that night, Freddy dreams about this same woman, and the next day she shows up at his clinic and she wants to get her wisdom tooth removed. And through their conversation, we find out that her name is Kainaz. I know I probably butchered this name. I'm sorry, I'm not Indian. I can't speak Hindi. And if there are any Indian people here, please leave your comments in the comment section if you're pissed or if you know how to pronounce the name correctly. Yeah. And Kainaz apologizes for the behavior of her husband, Rustam, but Freddy tells her that it's not really a big deal. I get this all the time. I hit on women, they end up having degenerate, lunatic husbands, and they end up threatening to end my life. Yeah, it's pretty common for me. And after the checkup, Freddy tells her to come tomorrow for a wisdom tooth removal as Kainaz heads out and she sees a picture of Freddy's mother and tells him that she learned to play the cello because of her. But she now stopped because she's married and her husband doesn't really allow her to play. And after she left, Freddy, who's clearly in love, imagines a whole life with her. And the next day, Freddy removes her wisdom tooth and he tells her to visit him the next day for a checkup. And Kainaz returns home and Rustam, who's very pissed off, starts beating her up because he's so incompetent that he can't even make food for himself and he's hungry and he blames his wife for it. Then we see that Freddy's outside doing some good old stalking, and after he sees Rustam is beating Kainaz, he gets out of his car but then remembers that he can't really explain why he was there in the first place, so he leaves. And that night, Freddy has this traumatic dream about a tragedy from his youth when his father killed his mother and then himself. And the next day, Kainaz doesn't show up for her checkup, so Freddy calls her and tells her to visit him so he can check if the wound from the operation is healing properly. And Kainaz tells him that she can't, but Freddy manages to convince her to meet up with him. They hang out in a nearby park, and Freddy notices that she has fresh wounds on her face, and he questions her about them, and she reveals that Rustam is abusive towards her, and she can't leave him because then he would kill her. I feel like I'm sensing a theme here. What's with all the killing? Just get a divorce or call the police, jeez. And Freddy decides to ask Kainaz to go on a date with him, but first he buys new clothes and gets a fresh haircut. And the next day he drives to her house and waits for Rustam to leave, and then he calls Kainaz and asks her to go on a date with him. She accepts, and we see a montage of these two falling in love and spending some quality time together. And Freddy finally manages to give Kainaz a kiss in the cinema, and now they're officially a couple. Well, not actually a couple, but more like having an affair. I know what you're gonna say, regardless of how abusive the husband is, if he doesn't know about it and they didn't get a divorce, it's still an affair. And Kainaz leaves after the very intense kissing, and Freddy tries to contact her later, but she wouldn't respond. So he visits her and finds out that Rustam was really violent towards her, and after he tries to comfort her, he goes back home and he decides that he needs to do something about Rustam. And the next day, Freddy meets with Kainaz, and they agree that it would be best if they just killed Rustam. I mean, that's a little extreme, but okay. So Freddy tells her that he will take care of everything, and they part ways. And then he goes to this beach to chill and he starts imagining the wedding he's gonna have with Kainaz after he kills her husband, of course. And that night, Freddy takes his gun and drives to Kainaz's building, and Rustam soon goes out and Freddy follows him. He decides not to use his gun and instead He runs him over a couple of times with his car, and he escapes to this remote house in some village. The police start investigating Rustam's death, but fail to find any evidence, and Freddy finds some guy to fix his car, and after a few days of laying low with Hardy, he goes back to Mumbai and he visits Kainaz. And she welcomes him with a smile and open arms. It should have been open legs, but moving on. Apparently our buddy Freddy was just daydreaming, and the person who opened the door for him was Raymond. Who's Raymond, you might ask? Raymond is Kainaz's secret boyfriend, and as Freddy gets inside the house to comfort Kainaz, Raymond beats him up, and Kainaz reveals that she was just using him to get rid of Rustam. And she tells Freddy that if he keeps bothering her and Raymond, she will inform the police that Freddy was stalking her and then killed her husband out of jealousy. Freddy then goes home and he lies on the floor broken and in tears, and at the same time, Kainaz and Raymond are chilling and discussing their grand evil plan. And it turns out that Kainaz always wanted to be the owner of her husband's restaurant, and now, with him out of the picture, her dream is fulfilled. Also, Raymond happens to be a chef, so together they plan to improve the new restaurant, make a lot of money, and take over Mumbai. And the next day, Freddy wakes up on the floor and soon burns all of the clothes that he bought to go on a date with Kainaz. Then he goes to her restaurant, where Kainaz and Raymond are, he orders a drink and just sits down, and he just kept staring until Raymond intervened. He would take Freddy's drink and spits in it, but Raymond drinks it unfazed. And Kainaz asks him what he wants, and Freddy explains that he just wants her apology and that's it. And Kainaz tells him to go away and reminds him that she will report him to the police if he ever shows up again. Freddy then leaves without saying a single word, and the next day he waits for the couple to leave and he finds a locksmith whom he tricks into breaking into their apartment. And in Kainaz's house, he replaces her face wash with liquid dishwasher detergent, as Kainaz had previously mentioned that she was allergic to sodium sulfate. And Kazea and Raymond show up earlier than Freddy expected, so Freddy hides on the balcony. And after Raymond left the living room, Freddy comes out of hiding and puts some sleeping drugs in their food, and he leaves. That night, Freddy gets back into the couple's apartment while they were in deep sleep because he drugged them, and then he sends himself a message from Raymond's phone, so it looks like he killed Rustam with Freddy's car and that he is now being blackmailed by him. Freddy then deletes all of the photos of himself and slaps Raymond a few times just to take out that anger, and then he lies between them because he was so tired. And after that, he goes outside and he removes the brake fluid from Raymond's car. And soon, Kazea wakes up, and after seeing her allergic reaction that's on her face, she screams and orders Raymond to drive her to the hospital, and they head there, but the car brakes malfunction and they crash. The couple survives the crash, but the worst is still yet to come, as the next day Kainaz finds out from a health inspector that her restaurant is closed after one guest found a lizard in their food, and they posted a review together with a picture. And she and Raymond quickly go there, and after the restaurant's manager describes the guest, Kainaz figures out that it's actually Freddy. And she and Raymond then pay him a visit to beat him up, but the police arrive there as Freddy had informed them beforehand. And they reveal to the police that Freddy had killed Rustam, but they can't provide any proof because Freddy has deleted all the photos when he sneaked inside Kainaz's house. And one of the police officers orders the couple to go with them, and as everyone leaves, Freddy lets out this creepy grin full of satisfaction because his plan is working. And a few days later after this incident, Freddy goes out with his aunt for a walk, and when he comes back home, he finds a bullet in front of his door, and apparently his apartment has been demolished. He obviously figures out that it's the couple who is behind it, so he gives them a call and informs them that he knew that they would do something like this, and that's why he left the snake in their apartment. And Kainaz freaks out immediately, and she tells Raymond to find the snake, but he fails to do so because it's a snake, it could be anywhere. And they decide to spend the night in a motel just in case. Kainaz then calls Freddy and suggests that he check his CCTV, adding that tortoise soup was very delicious. And here is when Freddy finds out that the couple killed Hardy. Why do people kill pets? Don't ever kill pets, come on guys. And after Freddy found out that the couple killed Hardy, he decides to take the proper revenge, and he buries Hardy's things and he finds a homeless man, and he pays him to tell the police that he saw Rustam's murder, and he gives him his own license plate number to tell to the police. The police come to interrogate Freddy, and he lies and tells them that Raymond had taken his car to kill Rustam and proves it by showing the false messages which he had sent himself secretly when he was in Kainaz's apartment. And he also shows the police the CCTV footage of them breaking inside his apartment. The police then contact the couple and demand that they come to the police station to give a statement, and Freddy, who is now on his way to his remote house in the village, calls them and tells them that he can make all of this stop if they come and apologize to him in his farmhouse. And the couple agreed to do so, and Freddy asks them to bring a suitcase if they can because he forgot his, and he needs it because he's gonna bring something back when he returns. And the couple tell him that they'll do everything he asks, and after their call with Freddy, they decide to kill him because it's just easier that way. And the couple then soon arrive at the farmhouse, and Freddy welcomes them casually. With all the rage hidden inside, he offers them a drink, which they accept, and he proceeds to pour them some wine. And he pulls out a gun and then places it on the counter. And Raymond tries to signal Kainaz, telling her that they need to do something immediately, and then she gets up and carefully approaches Freddy while telling him how sorry she is. However, her mask soon falls off as she takes Freddy's gun, and she asks Freddy if the gun is his father's gun, adding that it'll be more embarrassing when she kills him with it. And when she pulls the trigger to kill Freddy, apparently there were no bullets inside. And Raymond then attacks Freddy, who pulls out a flashlight, and Raymond insults Freddy by saying that he's trying to use a flashlight to attack them, but little did he know that Freddy's flashlight is also a taser. And Freddy manages to tase both Raymond and Kainaz, and they both get knocked out. And they both wake up strapped to chairs. And then Freddy shows up with his dentist kit and tells them how, back in the day, dentists didn't use anesthesia for tooth extraction. And at the same time, police go to find the couple at their apartment because they didn't show up to the station, and when they check the CCTV footage, they see them leaving the house with a suitcase, and the police assume that they're now making a run for it. And back at the farmhouse, Freddy lets Kainaz speak, and she tries to manipulate him by saying that everything was Raymond's idea and that he's the one that killed Hardy. And then Freddy gets up and brings his mother's cello and orders Kainaz to play to see if she lied about her saying that his mother was her idol and she inspired her to start playing the cello. And you guessed it, that was a lie too, and this girl cannot play the cello. So Freddy puts her back on the chair and he pulls out every single tooth from Raymond and Kainaz, and just to remind you guys, there is no anesthesia. And after he pulled every single tooth from the both of them, he dumps them into a freshly dug grave, and not only now the couple have to suffer an immense amount of pain, but they now are helplessly lying in the dirt waiting to be buried alive. And as Freddy buries Kainaz, he confesses that he still loves her and that the joke is still on him. And after he buried them, he lies down between the two bodies and he just smiles at the screen before it goes black and the movie ends. And that's how our movie ends. I hope you guys enjoyed our recap. Remember to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!